We got Uncle Hotep on the screen. You see him right there to my right, your left. We got Marc Lamont Hill to my left, to your right. And today we are talking about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris and her blackness. Now, I just have a little bit of history here. These two combatants here today. They have been, I would say, from my view, arch nemesis for over a decade now. These two have gone back and forth, at least from where I'm sitting. And this debate here was brought together by NerdNash. Shout out to NerdNash, nerdnash.com. And it came off of this tweet right here. I'm going to put the tweet on the screen right now. You guys should see it here. Marc Lamont Hill tweeted, "Nothing is more fascinating than watching black Republican men like Byron Donalds questioning the racial identity of Kamala Harris. Dude has a white wife and biracial kids. Why is he comfortable identifying them as black, but not Kamala Harris?" To which Uncle Hotep responded, "None of what you said makes Byron Donald not black." Mark, did you see that tweet? Did you see that response?
I remember my tweet. I didn't see Uncle Hotep's response. He's probably not on my probably got him muted or something because he bullies me online so much. I feel intimidated very often. I might file a report, but I think part of my frustration with Twitter is that Twitter often makes a spectacle of the quote tweet, and you drop the flying elbow on your opponent, and everybody on your side goes ooh, and they don't actually hear what I said. They spend so much time responding to what I didn't say that they, like, even what you just said, right? Uncle Hotep responded, "None of what you just said makes Byron Donaldson less black," right? But if you read my tweet, what did I say? I said, I don't understand how he's comfortable doing what?
How he's comfortable. What'd you say, Unc?
No, go ahead. I want the moderator to read it so we clear.
Yeah. Nothing more fascinating than watching black Republican men like Byron Donalds questioning the racial identity of Kamala Harris. So he's questioning her racial identity. And you brought up...
No, but what's the last part of what I said?
Why is he comfortable identifying them as black but not Kamala?
Yeah, identifying them as, but who's them? His kids.
His kids.
So then he jumps in and says, none of that makes him less black. So the reader would think that I was questioning Byron Donald's blackness. And I never said a word about his blackness. I said his kids. So again, it's a misrepresentation of the argument, right? It's like I'm saying, I'm saying Joel Embiid shouldn't play for USA team basketball, and he responds, "Or I don't understand why." You know what I'm saying? Steph Curry shouldn't start, and I'm like, I agree, but his father's like, "Yeah, explain why Steph Curry don't start." I never said that about Steph Curry. I never said that about Byron Donalds' blackness. My point is, if on Twitter people are saying that someone is not black, and we have to talk about what black means to different people, right? That people aren't black, and specifically Kamala Harris isn't black because of her biracial makeup, right? And the composite of things that make her up. I'm saying then we got to do that for everybody. Byron Donalds claims Jamaican ancestry. So does Kamala Harris. He's got his kids have got part Jamaican, half white, and whatever else is in the mix. I'm saying, well, if his kids could be black, then why the hell are we saying Kamala Harris isn't? I'm just saying apply the same standard. I personally don't care if people think Kamala Harris is black or not. To me, I don't support or not support somebody based purely on their blackness. But what I'm saying is, if the claims that she makes are correct, and she's told me this herself, right? That she has an Afro-Jamaican father, not an Irish Jamaican father, not an Indian Jamaican father. I know what Judge Joe Brown said, but I'm talking about what I heard her say with my own ears, right? If she has that, then she's no different than his kids or anybody else's kids. And I'm not coming at anybody's kids either. I'm saying I think his kids are black, and I think she's black. To me, black is so broad and vague, and this is the last thing I'll say. Black is so broad and vague and ambiguous at times that it doesn't necessarily mean anything. For me, here in the United States, I include Jamaicans as black. Yeah, I include black Dominicans as black. Yeah, I include all these people as black, but they're not descendants of slavery. And so to me, it's like, well, when we start talking about reparations, when we start talking about what we deserve, when we start talking about our history and the culture of African Americans here, she ain't that. Kamala Harris ain't African American, but she is black. And black is global. African American is very specific. And for me, that means descendants of slavery. She's not that. I'm not claiming she's that. I'm just saying that a whole bunch of mixed race people are claiming they mixed people and they mixed babies and trying to deny hers. That was the only point I was making. And it was somewhat tongue in cheek, but I still think it's true.
Interesting. Uncle Hotep, how do you respond to all of that?
Well, I mean, it makes a point. Black can be a lot of things, but I know it's not Kamala. That's where I'm getting at. Thanks for Mark for coming on first and foremost. I've long respected some of your views, especially some of your war views. I greatly respect that. I think we need more voices like yours on here with that. But as far as Kamala's blackness, it's like, her mother raised her. She does have a Afro-Jamaican father. They split up. Her mother primarily raised Kamala. Her mother took Kamala to India every other year. Her mother named her after a Hindu deity. Kamala goes to Mindy Kaling and goes on the show and says we're both South Indian. Is she have some part black in her? Yes, of course, she has to, right? But is she culturally raised black or FBA or however you want to define it? It's to me, she was raised more Indian than anything else, and I think she conveniently shapeshifts depending on the audience. When she speaks to Mindy, she brings up she's Southeast Asian. She talks to Charlemagne and Mark, she's black. But not that it should be so important, but some people are just one issue voters. Some people are just going to vote or no issue voters. Some people are just going to vote, well, she's black, I'm just going to vote for her. You know what I mean? Well, to the people that are just going to vote for her because they think she is black, I think we need to define that. I just don't understand where we're claiming her like that or want to claim her like that. Back of 20, 30 years ago when me and Mark were younger, you had a certain shade. Of course, oh, you're black. You know what I mean? We claim anything. But nowadays, we have a certain degree of ethnic pride is coming out with FBAs and ADOS and stuff like that. That sort of thing needs to be defined. That's what I was saying.
So I disagree with a couple of things. Right? So again, we often selectively pull evidence to support our claims, right? So we're looking at a Mindy Kaling interview that Kamala Harris did in the last 10 years, probably in the last 5 years. Kamala Harris is 60, and I hope we can call her Kamala, not Kamala. Her name is Kamala. We should call her Kamala. She's 60, so she gave that at 55. We have far more evidence of her ensconced in black culture, if that's the criterion, than we do of her being ensconced in Indian culture. When you look at high school photos of her, when you look at the music she grew up listening to, and I know you can find a selective photo and fake it till you make it. You could turn on blackness. I think that's far more applicable for Obama, frankly, than I do Kamala Harris. I think Barry from Hawaii had a whole lot more cultural transformation when he ran for office than Kamala Harris did. But that notwithstanding, Kamala Harris made a choice at 17, 18 years old to go to where? Howard University. You do not just arbitrarily, as a person raised and ensconced in Indian culture, decide to pick up and go to DC, Chocolate City, and go to an all-black university. Maybe for grad school, but you don't choose HU arbitrarily. And then you pledge, AKA, of course, black fraternity sororities are elitist. Of course, they're bourgeois, all that stuff. I'm not even making a defense or a repudiation of them at this moment. I'm just saying that the commitment to joining one shows that you probably are connected to black culture. It might be bougie black culture, maybe what y'all call boule black culture, but it's still black culture. I don't think she turns it off and on. I didn't meet Kamala Harris when she was running for president or vice president or Senate. So my experience with her, the first time I met Kamala Harris was a very different situation on the West Coast. She was working as an attorney, and there was nothing in my interaction with her that would have made me thought that she was remotely Indian. Now, you might say that's because she was around Negroes. When you're around Negroes, you do Negro shit, right? But when she's around Indians, she turns that on. She is multiracial. Now, I happen to believe, based on how America functions, that multiraciality at the biological and genealogical level is important. But how do the police see you? How do people read you on the street? How do white people understand you when they're about to do something racist, right? Are you interpreted as black? Do you internalize blackness? Do you see yourself as black? Do you walk in the world as a black person? I'm not saying that's the only criteria, because if it was, then Rachel Dolezal would be black, and she ain't. But what I'm saying is that if you have enough biological makeup, again, Jamaican ancestry, dad, and you move through the world as a black person, then to me, denying her blackness, it's silly. But my point is ultimately, and Uncle Hotep made an interesting point about, what about the people who only vote for somebody based on the single issue of them being black? I'm saying that's foolish anyway. Do you know how many Negroes out here don't care about Negroes? Do you know how many people here are indisputably black, could go all the way back to Kunta Kinte, not a drop of white blood in them, and still would do everything they could to lock your ass up and take away your rights and not build the black economy? So for me, I don't choose my candidate based on their blackness. Now, the tie goes to the Negro. If two people are neck and neck, I'm going to pick the black person. And maybe if a black person a little behind, I might, if they're in the same vicinity, because I happen to love black people in that way. But my primary criterion for choosing who's going to be president or vice president or mayor or dog catcher is, do they have our interests at heart? Otherwise, these people would have, and I don't mean you, Uncle, these people who are obsessing about race in the way they are would say choose Clarence Thomas because he got more black in him than Kamala Harris. And how foolish would that be?
Uncle Hotep, how do you respond to that?
We like to say on the show, we like me and Hotep used to do a pod together. Yes, she went to Howard, but did she go to Howard to learn how to be black? She said on the Howard alumni profile states Harris that being on Howard's campus was central to her development as a black person. She went to school to Howard to learn how to be black. That's her. That's what Howard alumni says. I'm just saying that's what they got on the statue.
That's not what it say, but it's cool. I'm gonna let you finish.
I get what you're saying. I know it's foolish to vote for someone solely because of this color of the skin or anything else. But you got to admit there's a lot of people out there. And you got to admit that, when you say that black person might not even look out for y'all. She was district attorney, had a case under her. She wasn't directly doing the case, but it was people that was working for her doing the case. Sent a man to jail for 50 years. By God's grace, he got a retrial and got out. Jamal Truelove is his name. Jamal Truelove said, hey, he didn't see her that much. But during sentencing and the jury vote, she was right there. She made sure she was in there in that courtroom to put her stamp on approval. She's also one, she said, I'm not going to do anything just solely for black people. I'm not saying that, because sometimes you got to play the political game, you know what I mean? So you can out there say that, you know what I mean? But man, like I think, now this is just me. This is me when I put my Hotep bag, presidential candidates are picked decades beforehand. You know what I'm saying? Years beforehand. Sometimes when they're just infants. Kamala, you might be one. You got that good Indian ancestry. But you're a little shaky on the blackness. Need you to go to Howard, learn the blackness. And they knew they were going to get all these Indian influxes of immigrants. She's the perfect candidate, but she doesn't have the charisma. If she was charismatic, she might be a lot. This might be an open and shut election. She just doesn't have it.
So I disagree with everything you just said. Uh, let, let, let me first. That's again a I don't want to say it's willful, but it is a wild misinterpretation, misrepresentation of what Howard was saying about her. I worked at an HBCU. I taught at an HBCU. I attended an HBCU. We all talk about as Black people, and I don't know if you did you attend or work at an HBCU, Uncle Hotep? I'm asking. I really don't know.
No,
Okay,
no,
so maybe so maybe it's a good faith mistake. We all talk about how our institutions shaped how we navigated our Blackness or shaped our development as Black people. Similarly, if were you a Boy Scout?
yes,
Did that shape your development as a male or as a young man?
it had some input. Yes,
Right. But I wouldn't say, see, he was a woman before, and then because it impacted his development as a male, that means he was a woman before. No, it means you're going to develop as a male. The question is how, right? Similarly, a lot of us came into Howard, Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, Medgar Evers, even though it's not technically HBC, but you get my point, right? Harris Stowe, whatever, Cheney State. We go into these institutions. Like for me, I grew up in an all Black neighborhood. I grew up in the hood. I grew up around certain kinds of Black folk, and now I was surrounded by Black folk where like everybody kind of was doing their work. Everybody was kind of studying. Everybody at Morehouse wanted to be Martin Luther King. So I started to understand Blackness as part of a tradition. I started to understand Blackness as part of an ethic of studying. I started a deep study. I started to understand Blackness as an ethic of service. I know people from my brother who went to who was 9 years older than me when he went to Morehouse. Morehouse was the first time he had Black teachers, Black professors, Black any instructors, right? So it shaped his understanding of who and what he could be. So when Black people who went to HBCUs talk about how, you know, it shaped our development as a Black person, they don't mean it taught us to be Black or it taught. I mean, that's a kind of again, it's to me, it's as absurd as the example I just gave with you with the Boy Scouts. Like it didn't mean you weren't one before, or that you didn't know you were one, that you were somehow a gender non-conforming Uncle Hotep, and your daddy said, I'm sending this motherfucker to Boy Scouts so he can learn how to develop as a boy. Like, no, it means just what it means. We all develop as Black people. The question was how, and these institutions have a tradition of how to do that. To the second point, this idea that there's a decades long conspiracy to make certain people president, I ain't mad at you for that one, right? But let me tell you something. They ain't picking niggas. They don't go, you know what? I want somebody 40 years from now, 60 years from now to be. I mean, Kamala Harris is 60 years old. I mean, she was born in 1964. Black people couldn't even vote. Are you telling me the same government that in 1964 wouldn't allow Black people to sit at lunch counters into public accommodations in 64, wouldn't allow them to have civil rights and voting in 1965, decided that they were going to pick a product of what they would call miscegenation, that they would find this random ass Black Jamaican Indian girl and say, you know what? I'm going to make her president over the Negroes that ain't allowed to vote.
they picked Obama.
That's what I'm saying is that there is no lifelong conspiracy to appoint presidents who look like us. Yes, there are people who are groomed for this. They're white men. They've always been white men. They always will be white men. Over time, here's the other reason why that doesn't make sense. Kamala Harris is somebody who, let me put it differently. Black people, unfortunately, because we're often so politically immature, will vote for any Black person because they're Black. You ain't got to go to Howard. You ain't got to do none of that shit. You could come in here at Carlton Banks. If you Black, we gonna vote for you. Look at Barack Obama. Nobody, niggas like he got a funny name. We don't know him. We're not voting for him. Then Iowa happened. When he won Iowa, niggas was like, wait, we can have a Black president? Oh, we don't care about Jesse no more. We don't care about Al no more. We're gonna throw away all our leaders. Oh, we love the Black. Don't nobody love the Clintons more than Black people for all the wrong reasons, but they do. But as soon as they had the opportunity for a Black president, what they do? They said, "Sorry, Miss Hillary," and they probably called her Miss Hillary. "Sorry, Miss Hillary, we're going with a Black person." That's why the Clintons felt so disrespected, because they feel like they own Negroes, and the Negroes they owned and sponsored somehow gave up on it. My point being that you don't need to have a conspiracy to Blackify a Black candidate to get Black people to vote for him. And you damn sure don't want to blackify a candidate to get white people to vote for him. The whole point of white people is white people vote for black people that don't act like black people and that they don't read as black people. Remember, it's like in Do the Right Thing, which is our era, when he's like, yeah, I love Michael. He's like, you don't love niggas, but you love Michael Jordan. Yeah, but he's not like regular black. Like white people love extraordinary, magical Negroes. They want the Negro that don't act all the way black, that seems different than all the others. You talk different, you act different. They don't want somebody that could do an AKA stroll. They don't want somebody that says, you know, when somebody says HU. They don't want none of that shit. So none of that's necessary. But to your fundamental point, because I don't want people that say he's ignoring that shit about Kamala locking people up. I am not telling people not to criticize Kamala Harris. I believe in that particular case, which I have studied, and I advocated for him. Kamala Harris wasn't directly involved in it. She was, as you pointed out, it was a corrupt prosecutor and police officer. But you know, I'm an abolitionist, which we could talk about because you misrepresented my position on that one time with Bill Cosby. I happen to believe that the whole system is corrupt, and anybody in it is going to either be corrupt or be corrupted. So Kamala Harris don't get no pass from me on that. Whether you police, whether you prosecutor, or whether you AG, whether you president, nobody has clean hands. So to me, when I make a presidential choice, I'm not trying to choose somebody with clean hands because that ain't possible. I ain't met a person with clean hands that could win. What I am saying is that criticize Kamala Harris all you want. If you decide not to vote for Kamala Harris, that's fine. I didn't vote for Kamala Harris 4 years ago. I didn't vote for Barack Obama ever in my life. I've never cast a vote for Barack Obama my whole life. I never cast a vote for Hillary Clinton in my whole life. I'm not telling people how to vote. What I'm saying is that if you're not going to vote for Kamala Harris, make it because you have a fundamental disagreement with her policy or an ethical disagreement with her practices. But don't do it because you don't think she's black enough. That's just a silly reason to me.
No, I totally agree with that. Don't vote for her just because you don't think she's black. Like I said, if either you can take it either way. Don't vote for her because she's black. Don't do not vote for her because you don't think she's black. I mean, that's absolutely correct. But about the development thing, I think it's a little different with Kamala because
Is there a reason why we keep calling her Kamala instead of Kamala? Like, why can't
Kamala. Hold on. How do
he
you
just don't know. He don't know how to say her name.
It's Kamala.
Kamala, right?
Yeah.
Kamala.
You're saying Kamala like you're saying Kamala like
he's saying Kamala like a black person would,
I'm saying it like her. I'm saying it like it's her name. I just think we should respect people and call them by their name. That's all.
I'm not trying to do it like disrespectful. Let me be.
Yeah, he's not doing it on
Kamala,
purpose.
right? Kamala, like you pronounce it K-U-M, right? Kamala.
What I'm saying is the emphasis on the first syllable, not the second. You're saying Kamala, like your wrestler Kamala that your guy didn't.
Kamala. All right.
Yeah.
No, I meant no disrespect. I'm just like HJ said. I say it like a black person. I guess I don't know, or I'm just a black man, ex-Pennsylvania man. I don't know what to say. But as far as her development, Kamala was primarily Indian. That's why I say when she went to Howard, just from her life story. Like, how many black people, take bi-yearly trips to India to hang out? I don't know any when I grew up. I don't know any.
How many half black, half Indians do you know? And honestly, how many do you know in your whole life?
I only know one, really.
Right. So is it possible that since you only know one, that's not a fair question? That you don't actually know enough to have that understanding. I know lots of people who are half black, half Indian, including my friend, the children of my friend who just Ibrahim, who just passed away last year. And when I think about that, it's actually quite common. They identify as black, but they also travel to their mother's homeland. So when you say how many people do you know that do that, you're acting as if you know all these black identified half Indians who do something different to her, when in fact, by your own admission, you don't know any.
Yeah,
so but off that point.
But whether you're half black, half Indian, you're saying they're claiming black. So is that a black culture thing to try? It doesn't matter if you're half Indian or not, right?
What I'm saying is that you made a claim that she grew up claiming Indian, and you're saying it as if it's a fact, when in fact she says something different. She wrote a whole memoir about her life story. Did you read it?
I did not.
Okay, so she's told you her life story. You refuse to read it, and you hear what her friends say, and you refuse to believe them. You look at her trajectory and you refuse to acknowledge it, and then you're saying that the evidence is clear. The evidence is only clear if you throw away all the concrete, direct evidence that says the opposite. So it's like it's a willful kind of dismissal of the truth. Like, in all honesty, don't you think you'd be better prepared to answer that question had you read the book and had you listened to her friend's accounts?
Yeah.
So why don't we revisit that part of the point when you actually have enough information to be able to speak on it intelligently? I think that's fair.
But why isn't like her her yearly trips, her what she cooked, how her mother acted, what her mother did, her sister, why isn't that any that's unimportant in her life?
It's not unimportant, but you're making it seem as if it represents the majority of her childhood experience. And I'm saying is she says it doesn't. The pictures say it doesn't. Her friends say it doesn't. You're deciding somehow that that stuff is superordinate and the other stuff is subordinate. And I'm saying that's not true based on the actual evidence. Yes, she went to India twice what you said every other year.
Every 2 years she went.
So that means that I'm gonna pull up my calculator because I'm not that good at math, right? But how many days are in a year? How many days are in a year? 365?
365.25.
Okay, 365.25 times 18. That means that she lived 6,574 days growing up, right? 6,572 days. Hold on to that for Mr. Moderator, brother moderator. And she went to India 9 times, right? 9 times in her childhood, potentially, right? If she went every other year. And let's say she stayed 7 days each time. We don't know if she stayed 1, we don't know if she stayed 14, but let's just say 7, because most people can't afford to stay longer. 9 times 7 is what, Mr. Moderator?
You said what?
9 times 7 is what?
72.
No, 9 times 7 is 63.
63,
you're no longer in charge of math. So 63, so she spent 63 days in India, and she spent 6,500 days not in India, and somehow you're deciding that the trips to India are more influential than what happened when she wasn't in India.
Yes. Yeah, come on, man. You can't even.
I'm not done. I'm not done. Hear me out. Hear me out.
But go ahead.
And then when she's when she's at home, not in India, because you're right, her whole house could be New Delhi, in which case don't matter where she travels. I'm just saying, though, you mentioned the trips as if they suggest something. But if you go back to the other part of what she did today, she says she grew up with black music. She says she grew up with black food. She says she grew up with black friends. She says she grew up with black agenda. Not that she did those things instead of the Indian stuff. I'm saying she did both. And so, but you keep talking as if she grew up in this staunch Indian life. And then, because I can show you pictures of her black grandmother. I can show you pictures of her in Jamaica. I can show you her pictures with hoop earrings, bamboo earrings. I can show you pictures of her doing black shit in the day-to-day. And to me, the day-to-day blackness trumps biannual Indianness. If we talk about the markers of blackness. But again, why don't you just read her book where she said her own personal story let me put it differently. You act as if she gives us all the tools to prove your point. And the tools are her statements and her evidence. What I'm saying is if you look at all of the stuff that she gives us, it proves my point. And what you've effectively said is, well, I haven't looked at the stuff she told us. And so then you're selectively pulling from the things that people who believe she's not black are saying. And I'm saying, don't believe them. Don't believe me. Read it all for yourself, and I think you'll be persuaded. But you got to read it and see for yourself. I just don't think you have enough information. There's no way, because you're a smart guy, Uncle Hotep. There's no way if you had all the information, you'd be making this claim. But again, for me, it's not, I don't want to spend too much time on it, even though I'm completely right. And I think I'm mollywopping you on this point. But beyond that, like for me, it's that whether she's black or not doesn't matter at the level of who we should vote for. Let's say you're right, and she's the most Indian person we've ever met. Or let's say I'm right, and she is straight up, like straight off the boat, West African, never had a drop of white influence or unblack influence, non-black influence in her. Let's say one of us is completely right. It doesn't change the political reality, which is this person in our interests? That's all I care about.
Hold up, man. Hold up. About this doing the mathematics and how many days she stayed in India. You've been to Africa?
Many times.
Mark?
Many times.
Would you say that was how you wasn't how wasn't a long time, right? It wasn't like days wise. Wouldn't you say that was a life-changing experience for you?
Some of the trips were, some weren't, but they definitely shaped my development as a black man. Oh wait, let me not say that because then you're gonna say I wasn't black before. Yes, they shaped my development
Oh,
as a
no.
black man. No, yes. I don't want no smoke.
So why
Y'all
would
already said
those same trip India shape Kamala as an
Kamala.
Indian?
Wait,
Is it like
you broke up. You
maybe
broke
two
up.
weeks out of the year, every 2 years? Is that me?
Nah, you back.
We good now?
Yeah.
Okay. Just because it was only 2 weeks out of the year doesn't mean it didn't put a substantial impact on Kamala's life.
That's
Like,
that's a straw man though.
that's
I know
going
that
to
it is.
another country. A lot of people that live don't even leave the country. The majority of Americans don't even leave the country.
My
And she
point
did
is,
that
Hold on, Mark.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
nine
Forgive me.
times in her lifetime.
Yeah, yeah. My point isn't that it doesn't impact her. What I'm saying is that if I were to go to India 9 times in my life, you would say, yeah, Mark, but you lived as a black person all the rest of your life. What I'm saying is that Kamala Harris growing up also lived her life as a black person. I'm not saying though that she didn't also live a life in a way that also was deeply connected in Wisconsin Indian culture. I'm saying that it's both. In the United States, being both doesn't negate your blackness. When somebody says I'm black and I'm Irish, or I'm black and I'm Russian, or I'm black and I'm whatever, right? I'm Palestinian. You're still black. And I'm not saying you're arguing a person, you're making a debate argument against somebody who's saying that she isn't impacted by Indian culture, that she doesn't have a lot of Indian in her. Except I'm not that opponent. I'm saying she does have a lot of Indian in her. She does have Indian culture in her, but that it doesn't negate her blackness. The point that I disputed that you stated was that she came to blackness late. I'm saying she did not. Even when she was making those trips to India, she was still listening to Kool and the Gang. She still had the bamboo earrings on. She still had a crush on Jerry Curl Michael Jackson. She still spoke black English. She still identified with her black father and black family. Because again, the father and family piece is critical, because if you just do black stuff and go to black places, that don't mean you black. But I'm saying she did all the black shit and she is biologically black. And I mean that in the sense that she has a black father. She ain't Rachel Dolezal in it, right? She's not, pretending to be something she's not. So I'm saying on both fronts, on both counts, she satisfies the conditions for being black. But again, the thing I can't get past is why we're so obsessed with this piece of it. If our mission is to liberate our people, I think it's a better question to ask for me. And I'm happy to stay here if y'all want, because again, I feel very comfortable that I'm making my case. But it seems more important to me to ask the question, is Kamala Harris good for black people? Then is Kamala Harris from black people? Because again, even if she's not, that doesn't change my vote. Even if she is, that doesn't change my vote, which, unless she just made the whole shit up, because then she's a liar. But my point is, we have to determine what's best for us as a community and ask ourselves, is she it? And the is she it question can't get answered by pointing to how black she is genealogically or culturally.
They asked Kamala who's the greatest rapper alive, and she said Tupac. You know damn well she's not black. She couldn't give a Kendrick, couldn't give a Jay-Z, couldn't give a
Couldn't give a
Nas.
who's the first name you said?
Kendrick,
Kendrick Lamar?
Jay-Z, or Nas.
Wait, did you say Kendrick Lamar?
Yeah.
When they asked Kendrick Lamar who the greatest rapper of all time is, you know who he said?
Who
No,
you
he
say?
said Uncle Hotep said greatest rapper alive. He didn't say
I
of all
understand.
time.
Alive.
Alive.
I heard it. And he's saying that she said Tupac and not Kendrick, Nas, or Jay-Z, for example. What I'm saying is, when they asked one of the three people he thinks are eligible for the GOAT status, Kendrick Lamar, who the GOAT was, Kendrick Lamar has been asked who the GOAT is. You know who Kendrick Lamar thinks is the GOAT? Tupac. So it's a little interesting that Kamala is disqualified. Her blackness is disqualified for not saying Kendrick, for saying For saying
No, they
Tupac,
said alive though. Tupac.
Kendrick himself is saying Tupac.
But they said alive. Tupac is allegedly dead.
Alive, not Tupac.
You talking about the alive
years, man.
They asked her.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. Let me hop in right here. Let me hop in right here just to clarify. The question was who is the greatest rapper alive, and she said Tupac. Tupac's. Either she's telling us Tupac is still alive, or she can't name somebody alive, and I think that's the point Uncle Hotep was trying to make. But the question was greatest rapper alive.
So I'm sorry, Uncle Hotep's dial-up service was glitching. I didn't actually. He was in and out. I couldn't hear what he was saying. I didn't hear the alive part. Forgive me. That's my mistake. I own that. So, that's again. This is the kind of, I would call it, superficiality or silliness that the media does to everybody, right? When they want to catch somebody. Kamala Harris, we don't dispute that Kamala Harris was in Northern California in 1996, right? We all agree that she was in the Bay in 1996, correct? Like, that's not a dispute. There's no conspiracy. We had photos of her. She was working. So she was in the Bay when Tupac was murdered. Tupac was murdered in September of 1996, right? If you think that she actually doesn't know that Tupac was dead, even if let's say she couldn't name any other rapper in the world, right? Which is not true, but let's say she couldn't. Why would she name the rapper who was dead? Obviously, she did the same thing that I just did, right? And that a lot of people do, right? So often now they say who's the GOAT. Very few people say who's the best rapper alive. Most people say who's the GOAT, who's your top five. And most people don't mean, they say top five dead or alive. That's an obvious mistake, right? I mean, and Kamala Harris, again, I'll just give you a concrete example. First time I did a media event with Kamala Harris was in 2006 for Hip Hop versus America. Hip Hop versus America on BET. Y'all remember that Jeff Johnson used to host it? It was a bunch of rappers on a panel debating the history and future of hip hop. She was on there with rappers. She talked about rap. She talked about rappers. But it was BET, no disrespect to BET, but it shit started 4 hours late. Me, her, Talib Kweli, M1 from Dead Prez, like 2 or 3 other rappers, literally and Michael Eric Dyson were sitting around drinking, like sharing these little school lunch size snack packs that he gave us and drinking quarter waters until the show started. My point being, one, that's some black shit, but two, we had deep hip hop conversations and she was standing there with rappers. Clearly, everybody in the world knows Beyonce and everybody in the world knows Jay-Z is Beyonce's husband. If you can't name a rapper, you just say Jay-Z. If you can't name a rapper, you say Eminem. If you can't name a rapper, you say Lil Wayne. I mean, there are people you could say if you really can't name one. If I were to say Uncle Hotep right now, who's the greatest guitarist of all time? Or who's the greatest drummer of all time? I don't know if you're a musician, but I suspect even if you don't know any guitarists, you might say Jimi Hendrix or Eric Clapton, or you might say Axl Rose or Slash, excuse me. If I say who's the greatest drummer, you might never name one drummer, but you could say Questlove if you had to, right? There are people who are famous enough that you could just pull one out your ass and be fine, right? Pause. And yet, y'all think that she literally couldn't think of any other rapper and that she was so bereft, she was so incapable of naming a living rapper that she just decided to name Tupac, who either she, like you said, she didn't know was there. I mean, come on, that's absurd.
We can only go with what she said.
And again, you could, and if you think that somehow makes sense, right? That she just so couldn't name any rapper that she chose a dead one, or that she doesn't think no Tupac is dead, either both of which seem absurd on their face. That strikes me as a bit unreasonable on your end. And honestly, I do know some 60-year-old black women who couldn't name a great rapper alive right now. I know some 60-year-old black women that could not. It wouldn't mean they're not black to me. It just mean they're not in the rap. But that's actually not her case. I know she rocks with Too Short. I don't want to say it like make it sound raunchy, but I know she likes Too Short. I've seen her dance to Too Short. I've heard her rap to Too Short. You can't grow up in the Bay and not know MC Hammer. You can't grow up in the Bay and not know. You know what I'm saying? There's just certain things you know from growing up around that time. You know what I'm saying? And I know she knows. I know she knows the coup. I know she. You know what I mean? It's just things I know she knows from hearing her say. Not like because that's the homie. I don't know her like that. And not because I just believe in her. I don't have that much faith in her. I just know that. I think that's such a superficial thing. Even if she didn't know it, I wouldn't trip, but I know she knows it.
I mean, I know it's superficial things, but we're getting to the point is she good for black people? And like I don't think she isn't. You know, I think we might as well go back to Trump. I don't see where we're getting at where like, oh, we need to vote for Kamala, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Keep Trump out and stuff like that. You know, that's the rhetoric that's out here. We got to vote for Kamala
Kamala.
to keep I hold on. I thought didn't I say that right? Kamala. We got to vote for Kamala to keep Trump out. She's further right than Trump.
On which issues?
Jail.
Be more
The
specific.
the
What's her right-wing position on jail?
well, I'm actually saying Trump isn't this right wing that candidate that the media comes out and
No, but that's not
portrays.
what you said. You said she's to the right of Trump. I'm saying what specific policy position does she have that is more conservative or to the right of Donald Trump on criminal justice or jail, as you put it? Just tell me. I want you to give it a concrete, specific answer to that. Or say you misspoke and you take it back. Either one.
Mark, I want to let you cook, but you know, you got a lot of mic time, and you know, I want you to allow Unc to get a whole thought out and then respond. Because he's giving you that.
I think he's glitching when I think he's stopping talking. I'm not trying to interrupt him. I keep thinking
he is glitching. He's definitely glitching. But let him get his whole thought out.
I'm not trying to interrupt him. I keep thinking he's stopping. Forgive me. Let me know when it's my turn. I won't say another word till you tell me it's my turn.
All right.
I'm not being sarcastic. I really think he's stopping. I'm not trying to interrupt him. Go ahead.
All right.
No, what I'm really trying to say is that it's being portrayed to black people that Kamala needs to be our savior. We need to come out and vote for her. We need to come out and save the country once again, like we saved the country 4 years ago. I mean, well, 8 years ago. 2016, 2020, when we put in Joe Biden. And what I mean about Kamala, she's been a lifelong politician. Lifelong politician. She's part of the machine. Really part of the machine. The fact that we think that we're going to save ourselves because this big boogeyman Trump, did all black people die when Trump was in office? What happened? What happened to us? Did we survive? We're still here, aren't we? But this is what we're getting at. This is what's being portrayed to us. And then when like CNN goes into the barbershops and asks about Kamala, and this is why the subject of the show, because that's what they ask. What they ask the barbers and the people getting the haircut, do you think Kamala is black? People in the shop say, no, I don't know. But I mean, that really isn't important. Now, I might not have specifics on whether I'm just saying from a feeling, general feeling. She's more to the right of Trump. I'm not saying super far or anything like that. I'm saying Trump is more a New York Democrat like he always been. Just the lines have shifted so much. I just don't think she's good for us. And when her shape shifting, when I think she does this shape shifting, it's just to get the black vote. They're trying to pull an Obama again. That's all I got.
Okay. So just so everyone who's watching understands, because I heard what you said at the end, which I appreciate you saying that you don't have any specific example of any policy and that it's more of a general feeling. I like to deal with evidence and data, not vibes. So I'm going to say that without any evidence that Kamala Harris is to the right of Donald Trump, we shouldn't make that claim. And the reason I say that is because all the evidence suggests otherwise. I could give you 10 examples of how she is less conservative than Donald Trump. And you can't provide.
Just give me two. Just give me two.
Donald Trump supports blanket immunity for police. That would be one, right? You agree with that? That would be considered a position further to the right, correct?
Was that just on federal cases, or?
Yeah,
but I thought there was some caveats with that. With that,
is there a caveat that would make it not to the right, though? That's a red herring. Well,
no, would they still be able to get prosecuted?
It would make it harder for police to be prosecuted. That is a pro law enforcement position. That is not a left wing position. I mean, you can't. There's no way you can spin this, right? You're saying that it might not be as big of a protection against police as it's projected, but the fact is, he wants to expand the protection that police have and reduce the amount of recourse that people have when they have cases against the police. That would make him further to the right than Kamala Harris on that issue. When you talk about the death penalty, Donald Trump believes in the death penalty. She does not. That would make him to the right of Kamala Harris. You asked for two. I can give you two more, or do you want to chalk this one and keep going?
What were the two? I missed it. What was the two? You got the police one, and what was the other one?
The death penalty.
Well, that's kind of like in the same vein, right?
How are they in the same vein?
Because you're talking about like law enforcement and criminality.
No. The conversation is about how is she to the right of him on law enforcement? Give me two examples of examples of him being the right of her on law enforcement. So they're all going to be on law enforcement.
So all 10 of your points are on law enforcement. Because
he said that he's to the right of her on law enforcement. And I said, I can give you 10 examples of how she's to the left of him on law enforcement. And I'm saying he can't provide one example.
I don't believe he said law enforcement. I think that's a bit of
He said jail. He said jail in particular. The word he used was jail. I'm actually giving him more sophisticated language. What he said was jail. I mean,
she put plenty of brothers in jail, man. Come on, man.
Okay. You're saying that
she not.
She did. And again, I'm not her defender. I think she's wrong for that. That's a straw man. You're arguing a point that I'm not making to make it seem like you're disproving me. I agree with you that she's locked too many people up. I agree. Remember, I said the whole system is either corrupt or will corrupt you, and I don't defend or support any of them. I'm an abolitionist. You and I agree on Kamala Harris locking too many people up. We agree, so you can't use the point against me that I'm making, right? It's like me saying, no, Uncle Hotep, you do have sunglasses on. You will not, I can prove it. And you're like, well, I never said I didn't, right? I never said anything about her. You said that Kamala Harris is that Kamala Harris is to the right of Donald Trump on issues related to jail. And I asked you to name one, and you said you cannot, but that it's a general feeling. And what I'm saying is that your feelings are contradicted by the facts. I am then offering facts of how she is to the left of him on issues related to jail. And the moderator intervened respectfully and said, well, those are all related to jail. Yes, that's what we're talking about. Now, I can name other issues to the left that she's to the left of. But again, I'm not a Democrat, and I am not a Kamala Harris surrogate. I'm only disagreeing with the specific topic that we're talking about. If you're talking about war, I disagree with Kamala Harris. If you call him for backup, this is what you do when you lose in a debate. You bring the most beautiful, adorable child in the world to the background, and then everybody pauses for a minute. Don't make me. I gotta get my kids in here, man. You ain't playing fair, man. You ain't playing fair. But listen, this is the point. I've never said that Kamala Harris is the savior of Black people. No politician can save Black people. And no Democrat in particular can save Black people. Democrats are not the saviors of Black people. They never have been. And I have never claimed for them to be. That's why I've never been a Democrat for one day in my life. And I've only voted for maybe two Democrats in my entire life. And I'll be 46 this year. So this isn't a pro-Democrat argument, and this isn't a pro-Kamala argument. What I do believe is that Black people have to make a decision, a political decision, that gives us the best outcome that we can get. If the best outcome is Trump, then we should vote Trump. I just don't believe that Trump is the best outcome for us.
Between him and Kamala.
That's what we're talking about, right? Yeah, I'm not speaking in the abstract. I'm not like I don't make politicians the boogeyman. I'm not saying.
So you're saying Kamala would be better for black people than Trump?
Yes and no, and I'll explain what I mean by that. I believe that Trump represents. You know, it would be like if I handed you a really, really nasty glass of water from my toilet after somebody went to the bathroom. And I said, drink it. And you said, I ain't drinking that shit. And then I handed you a glass of poison and said, well, you got to pick one.
So who's poison?
Right. But just hear me out. What I'm saying is that it would be a misrepresentation of my position to say that drinking this glass of shit is good for you. I'm not claiming it's good for you. I'm simply claiming that the other one is so bad that we don't get to live to fight another day. And now to answer your question directly.
So which one?
Now to answer your question directly, for me in this example, Trump represents the poison. I don't think Kamala is good. I just think Trump is worse. That's all. And so for me, there's different ways you can respond to that. You can say, I'm not voting for either of these fools, and I'm going to make these parties give us actual people who represent our interests, right? Which is what I've done in the past. I've been a Green Party member for 20 years. I didn't vote for Obama. I didn't vote for Hillary. Why? Because I said, I'm not going to accept the Democratic Party's trash. They're going to have to give us something better if they want me to become a Democrat or vote Democrat. I take no issue with people who make that choice. There are people out there who believe that Donald Trump is a better choice for them and that his outcome is better. I'm willing to have the debate to talk about why I disagree with them, but I don't demonize those people either. Just make the decision that you think is best for our community. I just happen to believe that this election cycle in particular, because of the Supreme Court, because of some of the specific issues that are passing right now around diversity initiatives, around reproductive justice, around the Exxon rule, a decision around federal executive power. There are things that I'm worried about that strategically I think it's better to choose Kamala, not because she's her, but because she's not him. And for me, that's enough because I don't worship or fall before any of these people. I don't care about none of them at the level of politicians. So that's all I'm saying.
But why, if you truly believe in the Green Party, why don't you push that more? It seems to me y'all just make these choose what's best for you. Now, when in the long run, your position, voting for the Green Party, might be the best position of all. I seem like it doesn't. I don't get that from you.
So if you were to look at you can do it a couple ways. If you Google Marc Lamont Hill Democratic Party, Marc Lamont Hill Green Party, you'll see far more entries from me supporting the Green Party. I have in my entire life. Let's just use Twitter because we both live on Twitter. I've been on Twitter since 2009. I have said maybe 2 or 3 tweets in favor of the Democratic Party presidential candidate in these 15 years. I tweet about the Green Party all the time. I do party building with the Green Party all the time. I just don't believe right now in 2024 that we have done enough at the grassroots level and the regional level to warrant me investing in party building with them at this moment. That's a recent decision, like in the last month or two. Still did an interview with Jill Stein. I still promoted Jill Stein's presidential run this time around. I still promoted the Working Party's family on my channel this time. By the way, everybody, please go to my channel, Marc Lamont Hill on YouTube, and watch Night School Monday to Friday. I had all these people on, but subscribe to Marc Lamont Hill, and that's a shameless plug. I have no shame about that. And so,
definitely get your plug on.
Yeah, when you see that, I just think again, you're asking a question that states something as if it's fact when it's actually false.
So let's round this out, right?
Yeah.
Let's go bar for bar, right? Both of you guys. Uncle Hotep, why do you think Trump is good for black people or better? And Mark, tell us why you think Kamala is better for black people.
Why I think Trump is good for black people?
Or better than Kamala.
better than Kamala. We'll give PPP loans out again, and we can just hit the streets again. No, I mean, jokes aside, he's going to do best on immigration, and I think in the longer run, that's going to affect Black Americans, FBA, ADOS, more than anything else. You know, there's been lawsuits in Chicago. There's less jobs and more increased job competition. We have to do something about the unchecked flow of immigration. And I think that would be in our best interest.
Mark, how do you respond to that? Do you agree with that? You disagree with that? Or do you want to switch gears and tell us why Kamala is better for Black people?
I'll do both. I'll do it real fast too. I don't believe it matters how I feel about it. I think we have to look at the actual numbers, the data, the facts, the evidence. The evidence shows that the bulk of the jobs taken by people who are coming across the border these are jobs, whether it's agricultural work, whether it's certain kinds of service work, whether it's certain kinds of childcare work. These are jobs that Black people aren't taking, according to the data. So to be clear, just so everyone understands what I'm saying, these are not jobs that Black people would be getting that have been taken by so-called undocumented people or so-called aliens or so-called, whatever you want to call them, right? Central Americans, all these different people, our South American, Central American brothers and sisters are not taking our jobs. According to the data, the evidence, the statistics. I understand Uncle Hotep's point that sometimes it feels that way. And vibes are important. I love vibes. When I go out, when I go to the club, when I'm at a concert, when I'm with my wife, vibes matter. But in this context, I think data and evidence and facts should matter. Objective analysis should matter. And the objective analysis is that no, these jobs aren't being taken. But part of how fascism works is that a really powerful, influential, singular figure will come and have you thinking. They'll go to the everyday person and say, hey, everyday person, I'm just like you. That's what Trump does, right? He's brilliant, right? When I talk to everyday working class white people, they be like, I can identify with Trump. Trump ain't never worked. He's a billionaire, right? But he's one of us. And he says to them, you know what your problem is? You know what you got to do? It's that guy over there. So people who have 90% of the wealth then tell the 10%, the people who have the 10% to fight with each other over each slice of that 10% while they eat the 90, and that becomes a Trump strategy. But if we're talking about immigration in particular, his approach does not help Black people. And it's cruel and it's inhumane. And I would say ultimately it violates it doesn't necessarily violate international law. I think that's actually not necessarily true because there are ways that sometimes people are passing through other countries and should be getting relief there before they come here. But that doesn't mean ultimately that we don't have a moral responsibility. My reason for saying that for Kamala is that I think that Black people are at our best, not when white people give us handouts of philanthropy or generosity. Black people are at our best when people simply get out the way. You know why we kick ass in sports? We just watch the Olympics. You know why Black people win in sports? Because the playing field is level, the goals are clear, the rules are public, and the officiating is fair. The referee is impartial, right? When that happens, Black people will succeed just like everybody else. What I want and what I think we need is not for the government to give us shit that we don't deserve, but to level the playing field by giving us what we do deserve, which is reparations. And the we is not all Black people. It's not the Kamala Harrises of the world, who I think is Black but doesn't deserve reparations. It's the descendants of slavery. We deserve reparations. Kamala Harris is not a reparations hawk. She's not out here trying to give us reparations, but she's also not out here trying to block it in the way that Trump is. Kamala Harris believes in investment in public education, investment in roads, investments in infrastructure, investment in minority business. Those are things that I think matter. Again, Kamala Harris is not our savior. I would give her a C- if I were being generous in terms of how good she is for us. I just think Donald Trump is a D+. And or D-. I'm gonna take the C plus, whereas Uncle Hotep likes to take the D.
Pause. Oh my God.
That was a
So
joke.
Mark,
I was making a joke about
so Mark, this is my issue with the conversation.
That was a jab. It was I got it. Go ahead.
When it comes to the Kamala versus Trump debate, there's always the denigration of Trump, right? But there's never any evidence as to what Kamala is going to do. So that's why I asked you, why do you think Kamala is going to be better for the Black community?
Right. And my answer was that I think some of it is not so much her doing more, but getting out of the way and not blocking things like reparations. But then I gave you specific things that she would do. I said investment in public education, investment in infrastructure. Remember those things I said? Investment in minority businesses. Those are concrete things that she will do. Those are concrete things that I said she will do. I think
she said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she said that in 2020. She's advocated it as vice president, and she seems to be saying it now. Now, I'd like to hear her say a whole lot more now. I'd love to see the policy platform pop up on that website.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Maybe she said it. I just haven't seen it in her presidential run. I haven't seen any of the rhetoric.
I think that I think she needs to say more. Again, Kamala Harris deserves our scrutiny and our criticism. And if she puts 10 things up, I'm going to probably disagree with 5 of them, and the other 5, I'm probably going to have some significant pressure applied to them to make them better, right? Because that's how it works. But again, I see this as a choice to buy time, like Baldwin talked about in 1980 with Carter and Reagan. Is that for me? I'm not choosing. If I choose Kamala Harris, I'm not going to choose her because I'm so excited and enraptured and I believe she's going to change the world. It's that I know that there's a significant threat coming from Donald Trump that I think will do harm to us. I don't like the way he handled, I can name 5 things, right? And I'm saying that even if Kamala Harris just handled them the way every other person before Donald Trump did, and it wasn't any better, that would still be better. If George Bush were running right now against Donald Trump, I'd be pushing for George Bush with the same intensity for the same reason. This is what I'm saying. This isn't about Kamala, it's about Trump. And I think that is a good enough reason. I just don't think it's the only good reason. I think if somebody says, I'm not choosing evil, I'm not choosing lesser 2 evils, I'm not choosing none of these motherfuckers, I'm fine with that. I respect that choice. If somebody says, I'm choosing third party, I respect that choice. And if Uncle Hotep or you or anybody else says, I actually, in principled fashion, believe Trump is better, then vote for him. I'm not telling you not to. I'm just explaining to you that my vote isn't a vote out of worshiping the Democratic Party. It's not a vote out of fear. It's pragmatic. And you can make your own pragmatic choice. Everybody should make their own.
Why do we have such fear of Trump when we did 4 years of this guy? The sky didn't fall. You know, outside of, COVID, COVID was the worst thing that happened. And if you're going to blame that, pin that on him, I don't know what else to say. Like, that could have happened under any administration. There's nothing really he could have done, in my opinion. But we all survived. We're still here. We all went through. We all came through it. We're here.
Nobody died?
Huh?
You mean everybody who didn't die is still here? I mean, like, that's crazy. We're all still here except the people that died.
How did that get pinned on Trump?
No. I was just responding to your point that we all survived it. We didn't all survive it. People died. A lot of people died. That's just not true. We didn't all survive it, is all I'm saying.
Due to a global pandemic that he really had nothing to do with. Well, I mean, if you're saying something else, he had something to do with, but
I'm waiting for the moderator. I want to hear you out fully, and then I'll respond. I want to hear you out fully.
It was due to COVID. I mean, that was out of his control, wasn't it? Not was it not?
No, that's not true. That's not factually true. Trump was left with, and I write about this in my book, We Still Here. Trump was left with pandemic guidelines by the Obama administration. I'm looking at my notes here to find it. Yeah, at the end of his second term, this is from my book, so I want y'all to think he's getting fed lines by the Democratic machines that own him. This is my own book. I just don't have my books memorized. I said at the end of his second term, President Barack Obama's team of scientific advisors left Trump with a 69-page pandemic playbook that offered concrete strategies for responding to a crisis like COVID-19. The playbook discussed the importance of obtaining personal protective equipment, PPEs, as we all know now, having a clear and unified communication system with the public, and most of all, an urgent, all-out government commitment to eliminating the pandemic as quickly as possible. Trump ignored all three. So when you say that Trump could not do anything else, Ben, Papa, está bien. They're ready to go. Okay. Trump ignored all three. So you think you're the only cute kids in here, man? My son came in here now. He heard somebody getting beat. He got scared. See, basketball. And so where was I? Oh yeah. So those are three concrete examples that disprove your point that there were no concrete examples. Those are three concrete things that Trump did not do. More than 100,000 people died when Trump was president. That's just in the United States. I could name 10 other things, but when you say like we all survived, no, only the people who didn't die survived, which is the problem. Too many people died, too much premature death, and too many of them were poor people, Black people, brown people, and other vulnerable people. I gotta take. I have to change my son, so I gotta take a break. Can we take like a 1 minute, a 5 minute break, and then I can wrap this up, or we can wrap now. But I gotta. It sounds like Uncle Hotep looks like he really needs a break. So. Can we take one real quick?
Go ahead, yo.
All right.
Yeah, so we're gonna wait for Marc Lamont Hill. I'm gonna get my thoughts so far in the debate. I have a hard time following his line of thinking. And I think that's just my issue. Like the three things, I just don't know how much of the pandemic fell on Trump, right? The three issues he was talking about, I'd love for him to clarify what those three issues were and how Trump didn't respond to them. I always thought the pandemic was more of a hospital issue, right? Like, and it seemed like, OSHA guidelines weren't being followed and pandemic response at the local level, hospital level. I thought that was more of a local issue. Very spicy debate. Mark's a lot funnier than I thought he was, but I guess he's definitely black. He's blacker than Kamala. Uncle Hotep, what are your thoughts so far?
Reading the comments, they're saying I'm getting fucking smoked.
That's what they said.
They're killing me in the chats. He made some good points. He's a fast talker, but I think a little jibber jabbering over Kamala. It's like I'm not buying it, but it sounds good.
Yeah. So he mentioned, Kamala, this is something that's been on my mind. Well, the first part was like, all the math he did, 3,500 days and you don't know what 7 times 7 is and all of that stuff. And I was just like trying to do the math and figure out what that had to do with the point. I couldn't follow that line of thinking. And not to say he's wrong. I'm just saying I'm just having trouble following the line of thinking. The other thing was, what was the other thing he said? Oh, when I asked him about the Kamala thing, why is he thinking? He said, more money to education and more money to infrastructure. And I just don't know how that helps the Black community. I really don't. I would love for him to explain. I don't want him to explain it. I really don't want him to explain it. I actually just published a video on my timeline about this, about what happens when you give the government budgets, like where that money actually goes. And one of those clear examples was Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg, I think he gave Newark schools like $1 billion. And like, it's like the money disappeared. It's like $1 billion went and disappeared in Newark schools. And, we haven't seen a huge ROI on that. So, when he says, he mentioned reparations, I don't know I don't even know if Kamala can take up reparations on her platform. I don't know how the Democrats feel about reparations. It seems like, the furthest Democrats have gone on reparations is a committee, creating a committee and doing studying. But I don't know, why he thinks that, the education, the money to schools and the money to infrastructure. Oh, the other thing too was when he said the black job situation and how those aren't black jobs. I had trouble following that line of thought too, because that didn't make sense to me.
I had to come back for that, because even if those jobs we're not doing them, those people that come over and do those jobs have families, they have kids, then their kids competing with our kids. Their kids aren't going to keep doing those same agricultural jobs. But then on top of that, some of those people aren't just coming over here and doing agricultural jobs or jobs we're not doing, despite what the stats say. They are all over construction. Easy. Those are jobs we used to do. We used to see black folks all over construction areas. Not anymore.
Yeah. When he said agriculture, I'm like, agriculture? They got Hispanics working on farms now? Well, I'm just like, again, I just have.
Greetings, y'all. I'm back.
Yeah.
I imagine Uncle Hotep is doing better when I wasn't here with the debate.
Mark, I want to revisit this thought because
I got to roll in a minute, but I wanted to give us a chance to wrap up. And by the way, thank y'all for inviting me.
Yeah,
and I think the public is going to learn a great deal from this.
Yeah, I was just saying how I had a hard time following, a lot of your points, and not to say that they're wrong, but I just had a hard time following them. But particularly the one about the immigrants taking the jobs, the illegal immigration taking the jobs. You mentioned agriculture, et cetera, et cetera. But you said black people don't want those. Don't you do those jobs? What was it?
No, what I'm saying is that, first of all, 2 points. One, the bulk of the jobs that have been taken by those groups were jobs that weren't being filled, i.e., these weren't jobs that black people were competing for and now are getting beaten out. The idea is if I come in, if you come in, my brother, and say, look, I'm doing this job for $10 an hour, and now there's a Mexican, American, or Guatemala, or not a person from Mexico or Guatemala coming in who will do it for, say, 5 or 8, you're going to get priced out of the market, right? Because now you can't get that job because someone else is doing it for cheaper. That's the argument. Is that correct? Is that a fair representation of the argument?
Sure.
Right. What I'm saying is, nowadays, according to the evidence, you're no longer offering to do the job because you're doing a different job. Black unemployment is actually quite low. And those who aren't employed are also are so far out of the job search that they're no longer looking for work, meaning that the jobs that they're taking are not jobs that we wanted or are pursuing. So they're not taking our jobs. Well, it's just now. It would be like you said. It would be like somebody saying, it would be like if Rihanna just who's famous. It'd be like, it's like when Rihanna they say I'm getting married, and you like, damn, you know what I mean? Like you didn't have a shot. You weren't in the running. It wasn't some. So ASAP didn't take your spot, right? It was never your spot. You didn't want it. It wasn't going to happen.
I wanted it.
Right. Fair enough. But you weren't in the running, right?
Yeah.
He didn't put it like this. The reason you're not with Rihanna is not because of ASAP.
Yeah.
The reason that's my point. The reason that's actually perfect. The reason you're not with Rihanna has nothing to do with ASAP Rocky.
But the reason why I'm having a hard time following the line of thinking is because of a very specific case. I forget if it was Chicago or Detroit, but they came down on this one manufacturing facility, and it was something like 1,800 jobs that were being filled by illegals. And when the government came down on them, those exact jobs were then filled by black people. So how did that happen?
I don't know the case you're speaking of, so I don't want to speak to a case that I've never heard of. But what I can tell you is when you look at the overall data, when you look at the actual numbers across the country, like, for example, I'm looking now just to see if I can find the report. I'm happy to send it to you. But unemployment right now is at 6.3% under maybe like 4 years ago, it was as low as
But
5.
unemployment's a very flawed number to go by. Unemployment just means the amount of people that applied for unemployment. It doesn't exactly take into account the people that don't have jobs.
Then you don't. So you don't make the claim that Trump got black unemployment to its lowest.
I don't deal in that number. I don't deal in the concept of unemployment.
So then, if you're saying that you don't use unemployment numbers as a metric of whether people have jobs or not, what do you use as a metric? I'm happy to use whatever metric you use.
I'm talking about the very specific thing you said. You said that
right.
black people are not
my data.
Feeling, no. What I'm saying is you're zooming out to like these macro numbers, which
that's what we're talking about.
No. You said that black people aren't filling these jobs, and I told you there was a very specific case. There's a very specific case in Chicago and Detroit where like 1,800 jobs were being fulfilled by illegals. And when the government cracked down and said, yo, you can't employ these people, those jobs were filled. Hold on, let me finish. Those jobs were filled by black people. So when you say the data shows that black people aren't filling their jobs, it's because those jobs have already been filled.
Right. And what I'm saying is that's not what the evidence shows. That's not what the data shows. If you look at the Economic Policy Institute, for example.
But you just missed my point when you just spoke just now.
No, I'm not missing your point. What I'm saying,
if you look at that, hold on. Let me just finish because that's flawed thinking, Mark. Like if you look at that one specific case that says those jobs were then filled by black people, but you said black people weren't filling those positions. When you zoom out and you look at the numbers at a macro level, we can then surmise and say, well, maybe those jobs haven't been filled by black people because they were already filled by illegals, which makes the data flawed.
Right. I understand what you're saying. And it's a little, with all due respect, it's a little difficult for me to explain why that doesn't make sense, depending on how well you understand statistics. But what I would say is to make it, and I don't mean that to be condescending. I'm just saying it. No, you're saying with confidence something that actually doesn't actually make sense if you understand how employment data works. So it would be like if I said, I'm trying to just use a good concrete example before we go. What's a good example? Do you watch basketball?
No.
Oh, well, okay. Then there goes my good example. Okay. So I'll just put it very simply. I can't speak to a specific case that you just brought up without a name, without a factory.
I can get it for you.
Yeah, I mean, that would be helpful. What I'm saying is I can't speak to that specific case, but when we look at data, we look at the overall number. We look at the overall. You're saying I'm using macro analysis. That's what I'm making a macro claim. I'm saying that I'm not saying that no job has ever not been taken by an undocumented person. If you understand me to be saying that no black person has ever lost a job to an undocumented person, then let me clarify. I'm sure that has happened. But what I'm saying is that is not what the evidence shows is a pattern, what is the norm, what is consistently occurring. The evidence says the opposite. And so when Donald Trump offers a claim that they're taking your jobs, I'm saying that is not what's happening. So if I say like, white people are taking over the slam dunk contest, and you're like, that doesn't happen. That's bullshit. And I say, well, I can prove it. And then I show you I could pull out one white guy, Brent Barry, that won the slam dunk contest, but that doesn't disprove your claim that white people aren't taking over the slam dunk contest. And you go, well, how do you explain Brent Barry? Well, I can't, right? But I can tell you that that's not the norm. And I'm saying not based on my own evidence. You can literally go, and I'm happy to post a link to the audience right here. I'm not making this up. You can go to the Economic Policy Institute. They break this down as well. You can look at the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Again, I know you don't trust labor data and unemployment data, but it is an index of something when it goes up and down, even if you think it doesn't tell the whole story. I agree it doesn't tell the whole story. But black unemployment is as low as 5.3%. And if you're right, some people stop looking for work. Some people don't do unemployment. Fine. But if black unemployment is at a historic low, why would we then think, even intuitively, that would be a signpost that somehow we're losing more jobs to Mexicans or Guatemalans or other Central Americans? Black unemployment, and Uncle Hotep, I think, would agree with this, because all the pro-Trumpers are saying black jobs have never been better under Trump. So if black jobs have never been better under Trump, and even the left-leaning organizations say, look, these numbers are pretty good. They just attribute it to Obama and not Trump. But black people aren't looking for jobs like that. And there's all these unfilled jobs that Mexicans have taken to say, well, to tell black people, well, they're actually your jobs that you could have had. That's just not true. Again, just look at the charts, look at the data. And the individual, which feels right now anecdotal, but the individual example that you've just given me, if you give me more information on it, I might be able to explain it to you, but I can't explain it to you without having the information. Now, you were doing, I think you're still doing the impartial moderator thing. So I'm guessing in our last minute.
No, I'm just trying to understand, right? Because
so do you have a similarly challenging adversarial question for my debate opponent? Because if someone were listening to this right now, they think I was debating you. And I'm fine with that. I can beat both of you simultaneously. But I'm just curious to know if you also had a question for him.
No, so here's the thing, right? We got a lot of people watching. And you mentioned something about black jobs. And I said to you, I was unable to follow your line of thinking, and I wanted to be able to follow your line of thinking.
You follow it now?
No. Hell no.
So there's two different things.
I'm still talking.
You could follow my line of thinking and disagree, or you could not follow my actual logic. I am making a logical argument, which is black
but you don't listen. You're not following my line of logic, because I just told you that these unemployment statistics are bullshit, and you still went back to them.
Right, and I asked you, what should we use as? I said I'm happy to use. I think you forgot this part. I said I'm happy to use a different metric, but you have to.
I want to use your metric and follow your line of thinking. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Hold on, brother. You just said you don't trust my unemployment statistics as an accurate. You're saying they're bullshit. You literally.
No, I said I want to follow your line of thinking.
Oh, I misunderstood. Did you not just say the unemployment statistics are bullshit? That I did. You said that, right?
That's one point, but there's a second point that you made. There's a second point. There's a second point that you made, and that's the point I was trying to understand. That has.
Hold on.
You said that black people weren't filling those jobs.
Right. So I want to address both of the points. So to the first point, right, before we go to the second one, then I gotta go to the first point that they're bullshit. If you think they're bullshit, I'm saying fine. I will concede that. What should we use to measure black people's success in the job market other than labor statistics? I'm just asking you, fine, they're bullshit. What do you use instead? How do you measure it? That's a direct question.
I think we got to go into each community and go based upon the labor statistics in each community and not zoom out and do a macro thing, because everything could be skewed based upon all the vicinities that are included in that data.
State labor statistics, just not federal labor statistics.
No, I think it's be more accurate if we said, let's go based upon Detroit labor statistics and include anecdotal data. I don't think we can just use this empirical data and not. No, I'm just saying, if we look at the case I was talking about where we had this manufacturing facility and 1,800 jobs are just gone because they kicked their illegals out, and then those jobs were then filled by black people. It's like the argument falls apart to say that black people haven't filled those jobs in. And the thing with the illegal immigration is, this isn't a new problem, right? So when you say black people weren't filling these jobs, illegal immigration has been hurting us probably more than 20 decades. 2 decades.
Really?
So when we look back, we're looking at illegal immigration. Those jobs haven't been filled by black people because they've been filled by other people. And many of those jobs we're talking about are like construction jobs and warehouse jobs and manufacturing jobs and factory jobs. I don't think it's fair to say that black people won't fill those jobs when we just saw a case where they did. That's where I'm losing the train of thought. I think it's kind of weird to say black people wouldn't fill those jobs. I think they would fill those jobs. I think there's a lot of brothers that I spoke to personally, and we can go based upon empirical data, but I also think we can't discount anecdotal data, because I know when I was unemployed, I'd have took any job I could have got. I think we don't take into account the lack of, push to blue collar work, right? The lack of training and vocational. We push a lot of college on kids, but we don't push vocational to the young black boys. They've taken vocational work out of the high schools. They've taken. I want to do this to create some clarity, so you can give me some better clarity. But they've taken vocational out of high school, and the boys aren't being trained. to take on those blue collar jobs. Whereas many of these illegals, they come with those skills, they come with that training. So I think the reason why those jobs aren't being fulfilled because they're going with people who already have those skills, but we haven't been given those skills. So I think there's more to the conversation than black people won't fill those jobs. I think they would if given an opportunity and given some nurturing.
Right. So you said a few things there. You said you don't trust federal statistics, but you said maybe not state, but maybe city. The federal statistics come from the reports that the city statistics give them and the state gives them.
They're aggregated.
So they're all right. So the federal statistics aren't more reliable as just a matter of fact. This is not opinion. They're not more or less reliable than city. You can say the city's bullshit too, but you can't say I trust city statistics and not state or federal. That just doesn't make sense. But
they're aggregated.
Right. They're aggregated from the people who you trust. Right?
No, so they're aggregated.
What does aggregated mean?
Put them all together.
Right. So you're saying city you trust, country you don't. And I'm saying the federal statistics are literally, you can literally look and unpack it yourself and count and see that what Detroit has reported shows up in the state report. What Grosse Pointe shows up in the report, and you add them all up, and that's what Michigan reports. And if you look at Michigan reports and Pennsylvania reports and Ohio reports, that's what the federal becomes. It's not a mystery of how. It's not like they cook it all in some secret sauce, and you could say, well, maybe Detroit sent it right, but it got jacked up in the process. I'm saying that's not how the statistical reporting happens. But to your bigger questions, I don't want to get sidetracked too much with that. You're still making it seem as I understand your point, which is if Black people were given the opportunity to get those jobs and were groomed for those jobs, then maybe they would take them over the undocumented person who's taking it. I think part of the gap in communication we're having here is I'm saying that right now these jobs aren't being taken at all. It's not like, well, we're all filled here at this factory, and we're all filled with Guatemalans and Mexicans, and Blacks didn't want these jobs. It's more like, we can't find anybody to take this job. Can somebody please take this job? Black people don't want these jobs. Now, the question is, why don't Black people want these jobs? And I'm saying, if you trust labor statistics, it's because most of us, and I do mean most of us, under Trump and under Biden and under Obama, it's not a Democrat-Republican thing. Under all these presidents for the last 10 to 12 years, Black unemployment has been declining. Black unemployment is in the single digits. Black people aren't desperately looking for jobs as much as the world wants you to think. To me, a better argument that y'all could make, if I were Uncle Hotep, who I'm supposed to be debating, I would be saying, y'all act like the sky is falling. Negroes got jobs. Y'all act like the world is on fire under Trump. Negroes got jobs. What are you tripping about? That to me would be a better argument. What I'm saying is we have jobs. And so the people coming over, taking the job selling oranges or taking the job doing childcare, Black people didn't want them. I own a business. I'm looking for people to hire. I can't hire a person, not because I won't hire a Black person, but because Black people aren't looking for jobs in this area because they have jobs. That's all I'm saying. So it's not, I understand how you're saying that your example of the factory contradicts the dominant narrative. It's not that I don't follow your thinking. I disagree. Unlike you're saying my stuff doesn't make sense. I'm saying what you're saying makes sense. I just disagree. I just disagree on that one point. I just don't understand that one point, and I disagree where you said that Black people wouldn't fill those jobs. I heard you, and my response to what you said is that the difference is for two things. One, you're offering an example that may contradict the dominant narrative, but again, I don't know that example. I haven't seen that example. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I can't speak to it because I don't know. You're asking me to speak to a hypothetical. I don't go by vibes. I need the evidence. But also sometimes there are outliers. Sometimes there's a single case that is different than the case. That's why I gave the white man winning the slam dunk contest example. That factory could be the white man winning the slam dunk contest. I don't know because I don't know that example. Again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I don't know that example to speak to it. And I don't speak to things I don't know. But yes, I go by the overall numbers because if the overall numbers show, it's like when white people say there's no racism, you got a Black president. Well, yeah, he's exceptional, right? He's exceptional. I'm not going to look at the one case in Detroit you're mentioning and ignore the hundreds of thousands or millions of jobs, that follow a particular pattern. That's all I'm saying. I'm going by the pattern. I'm going by the overall number. I'm making a case about the overall picture of Black unemployment, not a specific case. Maybe the situation in Detroit for Mexicans and Blacks is different. It could be. I don't know. I'm not from Detroit. You know what I mean? Uncle Hotep, is he from? No, he's from PA. You're the one who's really familiar with the D. I'm more familiar with Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, etc. I don't know the D. You know the D. And so for that reason, you know, I can't speak to it. That's your expertise. That's your area. So all that said, I got to run, brothers. I'm not. They're gonna say we stipulate. I want to be clear to the audience that we stipulated that we go an hour
no,
20.
we went over. You gave us more than enough time.
I know, but I need the audience to know that, because if I leave right now,
I'm co-signing that. I'm co-signing that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
they'll be like, he started pressing him. He had to go. No, my son. No. Hard, like you know what I mean. And
no, Mark gave us more than enough time. Mark promised us an hour and a half, and he's gone over.
That's all I'm saying.
We appreciate time.
I don't never duck the smoke.
We wouldn't do.
Y'all gotta come back on my show too. Everybody, make sure you check out Marc Lamont Hill YouTube channel. Subscribe.
Oh, I get an invite?
Yeah. Then you don't have to pretend to be a moderator. Y'all both do. I'm happy. I'm like jujitsu. I'll debate both of y'all simultaneously. That's fine. Or me and my son will. So, you know, make it even. You know what I'm saying? We'll do it one way or the other. But either way, I got y'all.
You're getting a little full of yourself, Mark.
You know what it is? You talk so much shit about me on Twitter for so many years that now I'm just giving you. I don't do this to nobody. If you watch all my debates, I don't talk crazy like this. But y'all talk so crazy all the time about me, and I don't ever say shit. That like since we're here like virtually face to face, I'm just going a little extra with it because y'all go so extra on Twitter when it's fine. So just understand that that's the source of why I'm fucking with y'all like this. But
we're not taking it to heart. We ready for this.
Oh, I know. Y'all not sensitive. You can't be sensitive with them kind of sunglasses on. You gotta have thick skin. You know what I'm saying? Look, I'ma holler at y'all. I gotta go, but I appreciate y'all, man. Love y'all. Peace.
I appreciate you, bro.